I ended my list by saying there's energy in water. And I usually get, there's energy in water? You mean I can fuel my car with it? No. There's an energy investment in fresh water. And it's pretty significant. It's our largest, by far and away, the largest use of solar energy in the world. Solar energy drives the hydrologic cycle. And we've had the hydrologic cycle in our science classes since first grade, but sometimes the significance of it doesn't settle in until we're an adult. And we realize how important fresh water is. The source of water originally on the planet, of course, is the ocean. And evaporation unmixes that water, evaporates fresh water off the salt, leaves the salt behind, and delivers it inland. So solar energy is invested in the water in two ways. Again, the unmixing of fresh water from seawater by evaporation, and then, of course, the delivery of fresh water inland. I'm kind of proud of this photograph. It was taken from the Huntington Pier. Captured a barrel in the foreground there on the right-hand side, and I captured a barrel that somebody's wiping out in the middle part of the photo. The surfers in the background, of course. So if you ever do a wipe out like that, you might get a mouth full of salt, or maybe a nasal passage full of salt as well. And the concentration of the salt in the ocean is 35,000 part per million, pretty uniform worldwide. Currently, it takes about the same amount of energy to do desalination of seawater as it takes to move energy up the California aqueduct. The water from the California aqueduct to Southern California is coming from about the Bay Area all the way up the Central Valley of California and then up and over the Tehachapi Mountains. And that energy, I was able to get this statistic from the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California of the net energy required to move that water from Bay Area to here. And they have to pump it up the hills. They get a little bit of a return from the generation of power when the water goes back down a hill. There's some power plants for the production of energy current that is when the water is going downhill. But the net is about the same as the energy required to desal water right at the ocean. So ocean desalination then, of course, provides a local source. Why do we need water from the Bay Area to go down to Southern California? So again, that energy that requires for desalination is about 4 kilowatt hour per cubic meter, and it's about the same as the energy required to move the water up the California aqueduct. The reality is that most of our water is imported, does come from somewhere else. At the time I put this presentation together, the California population was 36 million, of which half of that, 18 million, lived between Malibu and San Diego. This quote for the LA Basin is coming from a UCLA Environment Symposium in 1998. It says, in the LA Basin alone, we have approximately 6% of California's habitable land, but only 0.06% of the state's stream flow. Yet we hold over 45% of the state's population. There was a comedian, Sam Kinison, who made a comedy routine called Move to the Food, where he chastised people living in famine regions in the desert. And he said, move to the food. We have deserts, but we don't live in them. Oh, we do live in deserts. The only reason we can live in them is that we engineer around it. Then where does my water come from? According to Irvine's water report, your drinking water is a blend of groundwater from the Orange County groundwater basin, about 40%, and also surface water imported by the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California. Those are the aqueducts. It's a little bit disingenuous here. I think the 40% in the groundwater basin includes that is artificially recharged into the groundwater system from water supplied by the aqueducts. So I didn't run this budget, but I have a suspicion that the groundwater basin water is actually aqueduct water, or at least a portion of it is as well. That concludes part 4 of my presentation, What's in My Water and Where is it From? Tune in to part 5 where we'll discuss Orange County groundwater management.